playing it safe is the most dangerous way to live. I want to ask you something, and I want you to actually think about it before you answer. When you're 80 years old and you're sitting back in your chair or even on your deathbed and you're looking back at your life, what's the thing that you were going to be most afraid of? Most people, if they're honest, they're not going to say failure. They won't say pain. They won't say suffering. The thing that most people are afraid of at that age is regret. The quiet, heavy, unbearable weight of looking back at your life and then realizing, I played it safe. I wasted it. And that feeling does not come from trying and failing. It comes from never trying at all. And here's the thing that should wake you up. Playing it safe is the most dangerous way to live. Not the most comfortable, not the most peaceful, the most dangerous. Because the risk isn't just that you're gonna miss your potential. The risk is that you're gonna spend your whole life building a life that looks fine on the outside, but feels hollow on the inside. But nobody warns you about that risk. They only warn you about the other kind. And here's the world that most people grow up in. Get good grades, don't make waves. Pick the stable career, buy a house, build the savings account, keep your head down, don't rock the boat. And look, I'm not saying that stability is bad. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying that wisdom's overrated, because it's not. Not even close. But somewhere along the way, we confused safety with wisdom. We confused caution with virtue. We confused avoiding risk with living well. And a generation of people woke up, or didn't wake up, in lives that were safe, predictable, respectable, and completely hollow. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen it. Maybe you're even living it right now. It's a person who had a dream, but then they talked themselves out of it because it wasn't practical. It's the relationship that they never pursued because, well, what if it didn't work out? It's a conversation that they never had because, well, what if it got uncomfortable? It's the calling they felt, genuinely felt, but they put it in a drawer because the timing wasn't right, and the timing kept not being right, and then 20 years went by. Most people aren't afraid of failing. They're afraid of being seen failing. I'll say that again. Most people are not afraid of failing. They're afraid of being seen failing. It's not the failing that terrifies us. It's the falling in front of other people. It's the judgment. It's the I told you so. It's the exposure of wanting something big and then coming up short. So instead, we don't want it publicly. We just want to keep our dreams private. We keep our faith private. We keep our calling private. And then slowly and quietly, we stop wanting it all together. That's not safety. That's a slow erosion of everything that you were created to be. Let me ask you another question. Have you ever noticed that the people that you most admire, the ones whose stories actually move you, they never played it safe? Most parents don't tell their kids about the person who took a comfortable pension and never took a risk. We don't build museums for people who just kept their head down and avoided all controversy. The people whose lives actually become stories, they're the ones who risked something. They said yes when it wasn't guaranteed. They stepped forward even with the outcome being uncertain. They chose the harder thing because the harder thing mattered more than staying in their comfort. Now, here's where all of this gets interesting. Psychologists who study regret, and there's actually a lot of research on this, they consistently come to the same thing. At the end of life, people primarily don't regret the things they did. They regret the things they didn't do. The risks not taken, the words not spoken, the doors not walked through. We spend our whole lives trying to minimize risk, and in doing so, we maximize regret. You don't actually avoid risk by playing it safe. You just trade one risk for another. You trade the risk of failure for the risk of a wasted life. And I want to ask you, honestly, which one is scarier? Because failure is survivable, it's recoverable. Failure in most cases is temporary, but a wasted life is not temporary. You don't get a do-over at 85 years old. At least when you chase something meaningful, you find out what you're capable of. But when you spend your life hiding, you will never find out who you could have become. And here's what I think is happening underneath all of this. I think this is the thing that most conversations miss entirely about risk and purpose. The reason we play it safe isn't just social pressure. It isn't just fear of judgment. At the deepest level, I think most people play it safe because they don't actually believe their life matters enough to risk. There's a quiet lie that runs underneath so much of how we live. And the lie is this: you're ordinary, you're replaceable, your one life in the grand scope of everything doesn't make much of a difference either way. And if you believe that even subconsciously, of course you're going to protect yourself. Of course you don't risk. Of course you stay comfortable. Because if nothing you do really matters anyway, why would you expose yourself to pain? But here's where I want to push back hard, because I don't think that lie is true. I think, and I'm going to make a case for this, that your life is not an accident. I think the specific combination of gifts, experiences, wounds, and desires that make up who you are, that didn't happen randomly. There's a design behind it. There's a purpose woven into it. And that is why playing it safe is not just a lifestyle choice, it's a theological problem. Because if you were made on purpose, for a purpose, then retreating from that purpose is not neutral. It's rebellion. I want to take you to a story that most people know, even if they've never read a Bible in their entire life. It's the parable of the talents found in Matthew chapter 25. What we see is that a wealthy man, he goes on a long journey. Before he leaves, he gives 3 servants different amounts of money, different amount of resources, different amount of trust. To one, he gives 5 talents, to another, he gives 2, and then to another, he just gives 1. And then when he comes back, the servant with 5 talents invested them. He doubled them. And then the servant with 2 did the same thing. But the servant with 1 talent, he was afraid. He dug a hole in the ground and buried it. He kept it safe. And here's the part that shocks people when they read it. The master is not relieved. The master is not grateful. The master is furious. Not because the servant lost anything. The servant didn't even lose a coin. Everything was accounted for. Everything was technically safe. The master was furious because the servant buried what was given to him. He had something entrusted to him, something with potential, something with purpose. And instead of putting it to work, he protected it from risk. God is not impressed by what you preserved. He cares about what you invested. The word talent in the parable, originally it referred to a unit of money, but over centuries it's given the modern word talent, as in your gifts, your abilities, and your potential. And I don't think that's an accident, because what Jesus is describing is not just financial wisdom. He's describing the entire philosophy of life. You have been given something, time, gifts, a unique perspective, a unique story, a particular specific season. And the question isn't whether you'll be perfectly safe with it. The question is, what will you do with it? Ephesians 2:10 says something that I keep coming back to. It says that we are God's poema. That's the Greek word, and it literally means masterpiece or work of art, created in Christ Jesus, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Look, you are not a rough draft, you are not an afterthought, and you are not an accident waiting to be corrected. You are a masterpiece with a specific assignment. And the only way to live up to that is to move, to risk, to step into the thing that you were made for, even when it's terrifying. So what does this actually look like? Because I don't want this to just be some sort of like motivational noise. I want it actually to land for you in real life. So first, you're gonna name the thing that you have been avoiding. And I mean it, get specific. Don't just be like, oh, I wanna be brave. That's too vague. What is the one thing, the specific thing that you've been circling for months or even years? And every time you get close to it, you back away. It could be the business you wanted to start, the relationship you wanted to pursue, the conversation you wanted to have, the creative project that you wanted to start, or that step of faith that you've been meaning to take. Name it. Actually name it, because unnamed fears own you. Named fears you can face. Second, get honest about what you're actually afraid of. Most of the time when I dig into the hesitation that's underneath everything, it's not the thing itself. It's the social consequence. It's what someone else will think. It's the possibility of being exposed. And when you can see that fear clearly, when you can name it, when you can describe it, and when you can hold it up into the light, it almost always loses its power. Third, I want you to ask yourself an honest question. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what will hurt more? Having tried and failed, or never having tried at all? For most people, I think the answer is obvious. And fourth, I know this is going to sound strange, but hear me out. Pray the dangerous prayer. Not God keep me safe, not God protect me from risk, but pray, God make me brave enough to do what you put me here to do. That prayer is terrifying because God tends to answer it. But the life on the other side of that prayer, the life that gets lived instead of stored, invested instead of buried, that is the life that you were made for. Now, I'll leave you with this. There's a version of life where everything stays safe, where you never get embarrassed, you never fail publicly, you never step into something that might not work out. And it's a quiet life, a respectable life, an invisible life. But then there's another version, a version when you said yes when it wasn't guaranteed, where you tried and the outcome was uncertain, where you stepped into the thing that you were made for, not because you had all the answers, but because you believed that the one who designed you was trustworthy. That version doesn't promise that you will never fail. It promises you'll find out who you are. Most people will choose the first version because the first version is easier in the short term. It's more comfortable and less exposed. On the last day, when you're looking back at this one shot you had at this thing called life, you won't wish you would have been safer. You'll wish you would have been braver. So be brave. Be strong and courageous. Step into the thing. Risk the thing. Pray the dangerous prayer. You were made for more than a safe, quiet, invisible life. And somewhere deep inside you, I think you already know that. Keep the faith.
Push it to the limit, I can't go no more. Red light, no way, I'm coming back home. Long dirt road, all on my own. I'ma be the greatest, write my name in the stone. Write my name in the stone. Yeah, I'm coming back home.